Hey everyone, Nyx here, and welcome back to another episode of Housecraft. In the previous episode, we made a start on our house with this beautiful elven garden, and I talked in detail about all the choices I made, but today, it's time to get inside. I've got this blood elf exterior built into this cave here, and I've talked a little about the interior structure and what my plans are for that, but we're going to get in more depth here today and get started on one of the rooms. I've stripped the interior entirely, and what we're going to do is we're going to edit the floor plan. I posted a placeholder floor plan in the last episode, and much of it is going to stay the same. We're going to start off with this octagon room. This will be essentially the main Blood Elf front. If you didn't catch the last episode, the idea is a very fancy, elegant Blood Elf front ran by this matron by the name of Lady Serenray Brightblaze. She is essentially a Blood Elf noblewoman who makes a lot of shady deals, and that's why in the back of her house she has rooms for Horde and Forsaken, which both deal in a little more criminal dealings. That's the goal, and today we're going to get started with that Forsaken room, because my guild is Forsaken oriented, and I want to kick us off with a place to roleplay. Plus, I've got a ton of ideas, and I'm really wanting to just jump right into it. This octagon room is going to lead into a empty stairwell room. Empty stairwell rooms, in my opinion, are the ultimate housing cheat. They cost the same as a small square room, while being the exact same size and having 2 floors. So if you're willing to play around with platforms and interesting housing structures as well as staircases, you can actually get double the budget on your rooms essentially, and it allows you to fill out the space a lot more. So we're going to be stacking a lot of stairwell rooms together. It's going to be another stairwell room up here. This will be for my Death Knight and my Warlock on the bottom, Death Knight on top. And then this room, because my main gets special privileges, is going to be an octagon room small. Just a room off to the side that I'm going to turn into a cave. This will be our beginning room. And then later, when we come back to revisit this room, we can decide if we want to extend the Horde section out like this, for example, or if we want to put it up there and then we'll just have to cover up these walls. It depends on what I ultimately end up doing for my stair technology. But that gives us a start here. Let's go ahead and start putting in the basic customization. We won't finish all of this stuff today, but just having the specific styles is really going to help out a lot with making it feel like it's sort of aligned with everything else. That is all the easy stuff out of the way. We've got basic rooms set up, ready to be filled with stuff. Now it's just a matter of finding stuff to fill it with. But before I'm able to do that, I need to actually go out and grab some decor. Alrighty, so I went and grabbed a ton of decor, and I'm now ready to get started building. I'll probably have to grab more. I think what I'm going to do is structural stuff first, get the upper balcony going so that we can have that, and then we'll get to the stage. Been hard at work with the infrastructure, and I've got a basic layout now, I think. Got the stage down there, which I think has turned out really nicely and is going to look even better once I put instruments on. And then a balcony up here. I'm going to see if I can squeeze in some tables, places people could sit and drink without it getting too cluttered, though with how narrow a space that is, it might be a little interesting. We've also got these custom stairs that I really like the look of. They are fully functional. You can just go up and down them. Sometimes you'll get like caught a little bit, but usually it's just for a little bit and then your character adjusts over to the side. These are the undermined shelves, and because they have this metal that's sticking down to the side, you can connect one stair to another and really make this great look of the stairs actually being supported and all in sequence with each other. It also fits well with the other metal elements and the green tones that are already present in the build, and it looks exactly like the sort of dinky stair that you'd see at a club that maybe has a few health code violations. I think it works out great. I also think that the way I ended up doing the balcony ultimately worked out well. These are just Orgrimmar pillars, and because they're so rickety, you can see that there are gaps through them that further adds to this sort of like rundown, ramshackle vibe. For a while, the fences were just sitting in such a way that they were fully flush with this. Inside, not clipped out, you didn't have this overhang, and what that did was it made the upstairs area feel a lot smaller for one, but it also made this edge of these beams feel just very exposed. I knew I'd have to find some way to hide them, but then I bumped the fences out, and now the fences themselves can add more interest to this otherwise very flat surface. It looks great. It also let me use these pillars to create this sort of rising pillar here to then give it some support. What's next, now that we've got this stage set up and stairs and the balcony and just the general basic layout of this, is it's time to build the bar. Okay, so I've got most of the structure done in a way that I like. The bar is set up nicely. There's a little door to get back to it over here that you use under the stairs. And I really like these shelves. They're going to be dyed, but they make this secret hidden bookshelf blend in really well to what will eventually lead to my Forsaken sort of apothecary warlock's hidden laboratory. I went to a roleplay event last night with my guild, and it's a new day today, but while I was at that event, I had a ton of ideas for details. You can see I already started testing some stuff, but I'm now ready to get in and get into the minor stuff, further accentuating it, getting some tables in here, and all around just making the place feel more alive and lived in. I think I'm fairly happy with all of the details we got in so far. We've got chairs about, we've got stools that you can actually sit in. These are two stools stacked on top of each other even to get that proper height. We've got the bar back here, has all of this stuff stocked up. I want to get more of the alchemy specific bottles and sort of potion sets and put them back here as well to further add to that look. But we're still in early housing days, and professions are currently very expensive and very time consuming, so I'm saving that for now. These rugs are supposed to be like chalkboards almost. I also made a private room booth seat because this is supposed to be a space for roleplay, and I feel like having roleplays back here where people are sitting around this table, making shady dealings, having private access to the bar is going to be really, really good. Upstairs similarly is filled out, although it's a little less complicated, just a bunch of seats to further add to the vibe that this is a tavern. I think it all just comes together really nice, especially now that there's some lighting in there, lending it this atmospheric green feel. But there is something that I want to do on the ceiling. Currently this area is very plain. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Not every inch of space needs to be covered with something, of course. In fact, it would look kind of off, but I want to try and do a sort of fancy chandelier situation. Not quite chandelier, more like a neon light symbol type of thing. We'll see if it works out. I might just hang some lanterns instead. As much as I like how this is turning out, having this cool symbol up there, I think I'm gonna go for the hanging lanterns idea instead. Because this is very flat, it doesn't do a lot to fill out this space so much, and on top of that, this is like 60 budget, and this room is already up to about 400 budget. So this alone greatly inflates that in a way that is going to bite me later as I get to more rooms. We're already at such a huge point on the budget, and I've got like 8 or so more rooms to do when we already have spent about a fifth of our budget just on this one. So I'm going to have to be a little more careful with stuff like that. That means it's just time to do hanging lanterns instead. Got a few more details in here. I went and grabbed these mugs from my garrison, and I've actually put candles in them to give the sort of appearance that there's something probably toxic for non-undead to drink sitting in them. Not for all of them though, you know, some patrons have already finished their drink. I also added in those crates over there, some barrels stacked in the corner, just stuff to make it feel more like this space is being used and lived in. We also finished up all of the hanging lanterns here. I put them all at different sizes to give a more chaotic look to it, and threw some cobwebs around, and I think it's really helped tie the whole place together and just add to that creepy Forsaken feel in a lot of ways. I can see myself roleplaying in this space a lot. That just leaves one final finishing touch to the build, and that is on the stage here. I already got a start on it, just testing stuff out with these boomboxes where I use this Mechagon table to make a very simple audio amplifier appearance. Because I want this to look like it could exist in World of Warcraft and have that grungy goblin feel to it. But this isn't the only thing. I also need a drum set, a microphone, and 2 guitars, which is all going to be a lot of kitbashed stuff. After much fiddling, we are done. We've got guitars, one for Siobhan, my Forsaken Warlock, and another for Doe, my Undead Night Elf Hunter. More Horde themed, more Fel themed, best I could do just basically using the elven shelves and some beams to give it a little bit of detail in the general shape. There are ways I've seen to get guitar strings involved, but since we're trying to keep our budget low right now, I decided to leave it at this. The microphone, however, for being only 3 pieces, I'm really happy with. Of course, another beam, and then this is actually the water pump from Stormsong Valley with a dyed wicker basket on top to get that sort of microphone texture going. I think it looks really nice as like a grungy, like WoW style microphone. And then the drum set. I'm really proud of this. This is actually 2 barrels, one inside of the other. The one inside is flipped around so you see the bottom of it, and then it's dyed to have this different drum head and the metal rim and the different colors and all of this. We've also got cymbals. They're not quite ideal, but that's really the best you can do for basic cymbals with what we have in the system. But I think this all really tied the stage together. Of course, we've got the boom boxes as well with a more simple mechanical look. You can even sit behind the drum kit here and actually look like you're going to play the drums. It's sized for my Tauren, so Vice is looking a little bit short here. She is sized properly for the microphone. So I think this all turned out really great and finally completes this build. One final walk through and ignoring the placeholder scaffolding I've got in this other room to get in. You enter through this curtain, keeping the area sealed off, hiding this lot of architecture, and immediately greeted with a balcony that overlooks this, what I'm thinking is going to be a lore of a mine from the Third War that has since been abandoned and was bought out to make this sort of inn. Hence you have the rocky walls. This actually leads somewhere else, but using the web it feels fairly hidden. You come around with plenty of seating for people and drinks, some of them steaming with this green fell blight, just maybe even skull smasher, classic undead drink energy. This will lead eventually to my Death Knight's room, and I might give it a little bit more flair once I've gotten started on her space. Then to these stairs, which I'm particularly proud of, and it rounds the corner here to the bar proper. We've got this keg again for pouring more of the drinks. There's actually a different keg item that I've then put a blight barrel on top of to get the tap. Another keg over here to get this sort of supports for another blight barrel. And then all of this detail in the bookshelf back here. We've got these apothecary cabinets, little areas for making your drinks, books for recipes, and of course, a secret door to what will eventually be my Forsaken Warlock's room. These cabinets are separate as well. Just some storage back there and up there. Of course, on the main floor, we've also got more seating for people. And then back through these curtains, we've got some nice booth seating for a more private meeting place. Again, this is going to be a space for roleplay, so I want to have plenty of opportunities and angles for people to take. Maybe some of the guild leaders will have a private meeting back here one of these days. Finally, we come to the stage. We've got guitars for the Undercity sirens, drums, microphone. The Undercity sirens, of course, being my group of undead, my 4 undead all in a band together, with Vice as the lead singer, being the banshee that she is. And we've got Siobhan, my warlock, on guitar, Doe, my hunter, night elf hunter, on another more horde-themed guitar, and Rokara, my Tauren death knight, on the drums. And all of it represented with this banner, which can be taken as an Undercity Sirens banner, or I am a big Sylvanas lover, so it can also just be a banner of the Dark Lady as it's meant to represent, and fits with this whole shady theme. I was actually very inspired by this art piece by Kotkrieg. It's one of my favorite pieces of Warcraft art, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to fully capture the vibe with the build, but it's turned out way better than I could have imagined. We've got a lot of clutter. I would love to have more, but I'm trying to be careful on the budget, which already went to about 500 on just this room alone, and that's a quarter of our budget just for this, and we have several more rooms to go. Those will have to wait for a future episode. I'm thinking of doing this skills next, which will be in this cave back here. As you can see, it's very empty. But for now, thank you for watching. I tried something slightly different with the style in this one, more following the process of the build rather than looking at it after the fact. Let me know what you think, if you preferred this style or more what we had in the first episode. The feedback and response to the first one has been amazing and has really encouraged me to continue it going here, so there will be more very soon. But until then, I've been Nyx, and I'll see you next time.